Years ago, this was a bustling factory. Those days are long gone, and the jobs they once provided. Unfortunately, this story is not unique to this factory or region of the United States. The same scenario has played itself out across our country in multiple industries. Manufacturing jobs vanish overseas due to cheaper production and labor costs abroad. As a result, our future domestically, globally, and environmentally is at a crossroads. We all have decisions to make that will impact our generation and generations to come. The good news is, we can make a difference that can change our world now. I'm Chris Shura, founder of SustainU. Let me explain how simply changing your clothes can help change our world. We begin with a traditionally made shirt. We all have dozens of these in our closets. But do you have any idea what type of stress making just one shirt places on our environment and the people making them? Let's begin with water. This is a liter of water, just over a quart. It takes 40,000 liters of water to produce enough cotton to make one cotton t-shirt. That's equivalent to 2 pounds of conventional or organic cotton. But that's not all the water that's used. An additional 700 liters of water is needed to finish the fabric, which results in 600 liters of wastewater. Water is precious. By the year 2025, 2 out of 3 people in the world will be living under water stress conditions. But there's a lot more than H2O that goes into making a traditional t-shirt. Let's talk air quality. If you add up all the pollution it takes to make one t-shirt, that includes transportation and manufacturing overseas, it would equal out to be 12 times the garment's weight. That means traditional t-shirt manufacturing produces 6 times the amount of pollution it takes to make an equal amount of steel. When the life of a shirt is over, it ends up in a landfill. You and I are responsible for throwing away 68 pounds of clothing each year. That represents 10% of all the waste in the landfill. As Americans, we need to be very concerned with the waste we produce, because despite being only 5% of the population, we create 25% of the world's waste. As for petroleum consumption, it requires 2 gallons of gasoline to produce one extra-large polyester t-shirt. Most clothing has a design on it. That's where the ink comes in. Plastisol, which is used for traditional screen printing, has a known carcinogen in it. That's a cancer causer. This ink is not drain-friendly. It requires acetone to break it down. When that's combined with water, it forms hydrochloric acid, which is the source of acid rain. You get the picture. Traditional methods of making apparel are extremely hard on our environment. That's the bad news. What if there's a better way? By using recycled fabrics, minimal water is used because there's no virgin growth or creation required. As for pollution, using recycled textiles in domestic production, we can cut down dramatically on the toxic processes associated with manufacturing. Remember the landfill? By recycling textiles, we can reduce the impacts on our nation's landfills. We can make new garments out of what essentially would be trash. As for our gas consumption, we could potentially save millions, even billions of gallons of gas per year if we use recycled polyester in plastic bottles. If we print our clothes with PVC-free ink instead of Plastisol, we not only make our clothing more environmentally safe, but also safer for you and your children to wear. Focusing on the environmental issues of clothing is really only half the story. There's another very human element to our mission, one that's often overlooked when industries talk about going green. Most manufacturers have outsourced the production of clothing overseas, where governments permit low wages, poor working conditions, and widespread gender discrimination. Countries like Uzbekistan, the world's second largest exporter of cotton, use children to harvest the yearly crop. In countries like Bangladesh, India, Vietnam, Pakistan, and Cambodia, the minimum wage is below or around the UN-defined poverty line of just $2 a day. Poverty wages push many workers into debt, lead to malnutrition, cause health problems, and make workers and their families extremely vulnerable to unemployment, disability, and a faster decline in old age. Despite the efforts of many well-intentioned U.S. apparel companies, the outsourcing of the textile industry remains under-regulated and left in the hands of governments with, at best, questionable human rights practices. The United States was once the world's largest producer of clothing and textiles. That talent is still here in this country. Companies can make your clothing in the USA. We can bring these jobs back home to the depressed textile regions of our country we can breathe new life into communities that once thrived. We can pay livable wages and still be competitive in a global market. It is possible. It's possible to reduce the negative impacts on our planet. It's possible to make a difference in the lives of our friends and neighbors. It's possible to put to work the term going green. We can change the world by changing our clothes.